Hello, hello, and a very warm welcome to Chats with Matt, where each episode I chew the fat with fellow experts in the leadership and entrepreneurship space. And so I'm Matt Shorrock, a chartered psychologist and a leadership and mindset coach. And this week I'm delighted to have as my special guest Lisa, a very successful entrepreneur. And in this episode, we're going to talk about what it's like to be a young entrepreneur. And Lisa is no stranger to being a young, successful entrepreneur with repeatedly getting over 1 million views, several million views for many of her posts. And so, hello, Lisa. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm very happy to be here.
You're very welcome. I'm so pleased you agreed to come on the show. And so tell us about yourself. Tell us about your story and how you ended up doing what you do as an entrepreneur.
Okay, so my name is Lisa. I'm 26 years old and I was born in Russia, but right now I live in Austria. And my story and in general, my desire started with my brother. Why I wanted to create my business because of my brother, first of all, because he was always a very, very successful entrepreneur. As much as I can remember, he was always into doing some different things. He was always different from the others. And at the age of 21 years old, he was already on the cover of Forbes, of
Gosh,
Russian Forbes, not the
wow.
international one. But I just remember that time when everybody wanted to interview him, everybody asking for some shows, and he introduced me into this community of his friends who were also business owners, and he organized a lot of events, and he brought a lot of really successful businessmen all over Russia to conferences and startups communities. And so when I was 15 years old, I was impressed by these people, how strong they were, their energy. And I remember me being like 16 years old, and I used to communicate with people who were older than 30, and I was just impressed by their power. And one time he brought me to his camp for entrepreneurs for 3 days, and I was surrounded by the best entrepreneurs of our Udmurt Republic. And I was this time these 3 days changed my life since then. So since then I always had a dream to have my own business,
Mm-hmm.
because I just wanted to have this energy, because people there, they were so different from any other people I used to know in my life. They were so it it just felt like they could do anything. And I was very much impressed. I was very inspired by that. But my parents, they never really supported my way of having my own business. They always wanted me to have a career, and I understand them now, because in the Soviet Union it was just the only way. So I never, in my childhood, in my teenage time, I never had the opportunity and support to start my own business. But when I came to Austria, it was around like 3 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I studied before my bachelor in Moscow, but my degree was just not interesting for anybody here. I could not find a job because the only thing I had to do was to speak German, and I didn't. So I couldn't find a job. So I thought like that would be the best time to try and start. Yeah, I always had to start my own business, because I just had nothing to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And also, my boyfriend, which is now my husband, who started this idea, he listened to me for several days, and he said, "Why not? You should try it." So, and also my brother did. So finally, I had my opportunity. I had my support. I thought like, I want to try this. I don't know what happened. I had no expectations. There is an interesting story why I actually felt that like that was the time when I had to do it. It was the time when we were in Frankfurt with my boyfriend. He recently started his own company, and we were just having dinner in some Italian restaurant where all tables were shared, so you share it with other people. And Frankfurt, center of Frankfurt, is full of thinkers, a lot of successful people, top managers, and they all ask about what do you do? They all met each other, and one guy, he said he wanted to meet us, and he started. My boyfriend said like, "Hey, what do you do?" And my boyfriend was, "Oh, I have my company. I do this, I do that," and he spoke very long. And I guess at some point, this person he wanted to ask me what I do, and he turned into me and he asked, "What do you do?" I said, "I'm learning German. I'm a student." That was actually the moment when we met with you at the German course. That was the time.
Yes.
Yes, and this was like, oh, okay, let's come back to you, my boyfriend. And I felt I was so uninteresting. I felt so low. I don't know, because he was like, okay, what do you say? What's your company you have? So I felt it was very, I don't know, I was very upset. I thought like, what? I came from another country. I studied the language. I finished 4 years bachelor degree, but I felt in comparison to my boyfriend, I was just so boring. So I felt like I will at least try something, so I have something to say, like what I do, and people would like, oh wow, okay, you're doing something cool. So since then, I thought like, okay, I'm starting something now. Just why not? So, and the idea I had one problem. I was a young person. I was going out often, and the problem I have is that I don't like very bright clothes. So I had to somehow, stand out. And the only thing I could think of is jewelry. But I never liked jewelry in my life because um, the jewelry that you can buy from mass market, usually they turn your ears like into green or swollen, like you have infection very fast. It's not very high quality. But also I didn't have much money to buy jewelry which would be looking like, like something expensive. I just couldn't buy something really good. So I could not find something that would be affordable and unique and would be a good quality. So I thought like I want to do something to solve this problem. This is how the idea of making jewelry, of creating some jewelry, which would be great, covering the problem of standing out, covering the problem that should be affordable and unique. This is how it all in that time. And basically, I just tried it out, and I started it 2.5 years ago.
Gosh. I found it fascinating hearing about the influence of your brother and how you had him in your family as an entrepreneur that was fully behind you and supporting you and a great inspiration. And the contrast between your parents who were wanting you to go down a different road, that must have created a bit of a tension within you earlier on.
Yes, absolutely. We were so distanced at that time. I mean, they never really supported any of my innovative ideas. They all wanted for me to have a normal way, very standard way, something that they know about. And when I started the business, my father was so against. For a year and a half, he was all the time calling me saying, when will I find a normal job? He always, always, always wanted me to have something more understandable for him. And
Yes.
I was struggling because I always wanted to prove him that he's wrong. I always wanted to prove him that this way it's another way. The world has changed. It's not anymore the way he thinks it is. And right now he's very proud. So right now I'm looking back, of course, in that time I was very sad. I felt very lonely. But when he started to understand, he listened to me, he opened up, and he accepted in the end the way I go.
Yes, yes. that must have been such a lovely moment to have his support and for him to share and be behind your vision.
Yes, it was the
Yeah.
best. Actually, it gave me so much more power, so much more
Yes.
power.
Yes. I've got a whole heap of questions for you. Are you okay if I move on?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I'm curious. What would you say are the steps to starting up a successful business? And I'm especially interested to ask you that question because there'll be many young people who are watching us now and listening to us now who probably already know you because you've got such a presence on social media. What would you say to them are the steps to start up a successful business?
Well, any successful business starts with a product.
Mhm.
And for me, in my opinion, the most important thing is that you have to find a problem first, which you want to solve. And you start with a problem, and then you find an answer. You find or you create a product which will be the solution of the problem. So your product, you start with a product which solves a problem. Like what I did, I solved my own problem. I basically created my product just for me so I can wear it, but in the end it solves the problem of many people. So you start with that.
Yes.
And the second step is you just have to create a recognizable branding, very high quality logo, branding, brand colors, packaging. It all comes into this whole idea of having a very recognizable branding. See, they say, oh, I know it's Lindeza, or I know like it's the other brand. So that's number two. And you have to put this branding into social media. So you have to prepare before you start marketing campaigns, before anything else. You have to take time. You have to maybe consult with a designer. So you have to prepare your page, your bio, your everything that any person to your page within 1 second would want to stay, and that you have to cover all possible objections that the person might have. So a person would not have any insecurities where you are based, what you sell, where is your website, where are your prices. All these things should be like in a second, understandable, clear, and so on. And basically you create by this your social media presence everywhere, and you choose channels where you want to then put your marketing campaigns on. So for me, it's, for example, Instagram is my main channel. For somebody it could be Facebook or Pinterest and so on. And when everything is ready, you start your marketing campaign. So you put a target, you start just having the traffic, and then it's very easy to understand whether you did right or wrong in the previous point. Because if something is wrong,
Yes.
you understand it doesn't work. That's what I had before. When I started my marketing, I realized people really don't go to my page. They don't follow. They see, but they don't follow. And I just wasted a lot of money. But the problem was because something was wrong. When you change it, it's very easy to understand. When you change a little thing, then you see people are following, people asking questions, people are giving likes. It's very easy. So I love this whole idea of social media because it's so easy to understand whether it's working or not. And basically, all this, you just put your product into the world by giving it to bloggers, by making already maybe offline events. So you let the world know not only online way, but in a recommendation, in offline events. What I did is I did new collection parties. I invited people that I know, my friends. I invited influencers. I invited many people just to share the fact that I have this brand, and of course to make them also to make them to understand what my brand is about. So you can events and things around your brand, so people would speak about it. People would see your brand.
Yes.
And then just build your team and help other people grow your business too. That's what I.
Yeah. One thing that strikes me, because I see you on social media, on various platforms, and you're not scared of hard work. I see you. It's like you have a great presence, and I know you've built a team around you, but I know that you don't mind sort of being really hands-on, and you are actually the creative director behind all of your work.
Yes, because I absolutely love this job. Actually, we had even some conflicts with my husband because he said you were like 11 o'clock, you're creating videos, photos, stories, you answer. I can do it like I can do it in the night, on the weekend, on my holiday. I basically can create 20 video contents a day and or stories. I go online. I do anything. I try to also be more creative because my problem was in the beginning, I was so scared to trust my intuition about what I should do. I was afraid that I would do something wrong. And I always asked my designer whether I should do this or that. And at some point, she's like, Lisa, relax. You do everything right. You can trust yourself. I think you have a good feeling. And then I thought, because it was already 1.5 or almost 2 years since I was leading this brand, and I thought like, yes, I mean, since so far everything was good, why do I have any doubts about it? So now I feel I'm still afraid. I still have a lot of fears and doubts about when I release a new product. Or, for example, today we have a collaboration with Viennese professionals, with photographer, makeup artists. We create a campaign for my new collection, and I just had this idea. Let's do this, and of course I could be afraid to ask people to help me, but I just thought I just gonna say out loud and do everything what I have in my mind, and this opens creativity. This opens other possibilities. I just do it whatever I think I should do.
You've really learned to trust your intuition, haven't you?
Yes, I didn't. It was hard. It was definitely hard, but over the 2.5 years, I definitely did, and I'm trying to do it even more. I just experiment with all possible creative ideas I have, and sometimes I make mistakes, sometimes not all of them work, but when it works, you have even more motivation, more inspiration to create another methods of promotion and other methods. You have this drive to go.
What would you say, Lisa, are the biggest mistakes people make who are setting out on the entrepreneurial path that that prevents them from being successful?
Well, I would say the first mistake is definitely to be only motivated by money. Of course, money is the concept of entrepreneurship. That's your idea that if you don't make revenue, it doesn't make sense. But if you're only motivated by money, this motivation is very weak, because until you actually make money, it can take a lot of time, and this motivation will just not work. It will break you. You will stop on the way, because what my motivation was my motivation for every day right now is to have this idea and make this idea real. I think you agree that any successful entrepreneur, businessman that we know nowadays, they didn't start because of the money. They started because of the idea they had. They wanted to have something from their head to make it real. They wanted to
Yes.
change the world, and this is the strongest motivation ever. Because if you have motivation by money, it will just not work. You will break very soon,
Yes.
because the first years you will maybe not make any profits, or you will not have a lot of revenue, or in general business is not stable at all. Like
Yes.
pandemic, your business can die. But if you're motivated by money, you can just stop your business on the way. So I would say that's the biggest mistake.
Yes. Yes.
The next one is not to be flexible, because flexibility is something that is really important. Because for me, business is a big part of me. I reflect a lot. It's like my mirror because, for example, if I have a bad day, if I'm lazy, my business is also going very slow. If
Mm-mm.
depressed, I'm stuck, I feel my business is also not doing very well. And
Yes.
for example, during the pandemic, I had a problem because my whole business was oriented to Russia. I had 99% of my customers from Russia. And then at some point, the pandemic started and the international post closed for almost 3 months. And I
Mm.
could not sell anything to Russia. I could not send anything to Russia. All my customers were mad that this happened. I didn't know what to do. So these 3 months, I decided to totally change the concept from the Russian language marketing campaigns, all branding, all website to the English variant because there was no other way. I was so desperate, and I did that, and then it started working even better. So if I didn't change that, if I wasn't flexible during the time, I don't.
Mm, 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 mm. Was that a difficult decision to make? Did it take some time, or were you quick to implement that?
No, I was not quick at all. I had that always in my mind because I had this
Mm,
something was wrong. I was living in Austria, but I was selling to Russia, and
mm,
it was very expensive also in terms of shipping costs. And something was wrong because I understood that people that are around me, they all speak English, and people started telling me like, why don't you sell to Europe? Why don't you sell?
mm,
But it was just difficult because I knew Russian people. I knew how Russian people think. I
mm,
knew how to present them in the right way because I am Russian, right? And I didn't know how to sell it here. All people thought that my jewelry is big, it's chunky, it's a bit ugly, like it's bigger. But I had to present the idea of having minimalistic clothes, having the concept of having statement jewelry,
yes.
because people in Europe, they like very, very tiny, small, minimalistic jewelry.
Mm, mm,
Like statement because the thing is nobody introduced him this idea, nobody knew how to wear it, and so I started showing more and more how to wear it, how to combine it on a
mm,
video. I started talking about, hey, you can wear this with jeans and white shirt,
mm,
also
mm,
you will save money on clothes because
mm, mm,
you would
mm,
not need to buy a lot of clothes for events because for events you wear once and then you don't wear it anymore. But with
mm,
this jewelry, you can wear basic stuff, white t-shirt, normal jeans, and you just add one detail and your outfit looks already
mm,
unique and different, stand out. And this is one
mm,
of a kind jewelry. This whole concept I have to prove. I really had to fight because people didn't like it at all. And still they say, when I first saw your jewelry, I thought it was the ugliest thing I've ever seen. But when I saw it on you, I saw it how you wear it. I saw how, because I do it on a daily basis. I wear this jewelry every single day. So it's also something I wear. It's not something I sell. It's what this is. I did it for me. So I present my own style, how to wear it, so people
yes,
see it
yeah,
and
yes,
believe that
yeah,
yeah, maybe it's a good idea.
yeah. I think that's what people, my take is, and I think this is one of the secrets to your success, is that you're very authentic.
Yeah.
You really believe in what it is that you're offering, and anybody can see that you're very stylish, and people trust in your stylized choices. And when they see you wearing it and you're showing them how to wear it, and that sounds like one of the biggest challenge with the European markets.
Yes. Yeah.
You have
I'm
to wear
definitely. I'm not a person who would sell something not believing in it. I
Mm,
sell first of all for me. For example, my new product coming also out of my problem. I was traveling with my jewelry. As you can see, this jewelry is not normal jewelry.
mm,
It's
mm,
all it's a rose stone, and it could be very fragile when you travel. So,
mm.
for example, when you travel, it can break because though it's crystals, it's real crystals, but they can be fragile if something hits them.
Yes, yes.
And I keep it in a case from my sunglasses. And inside it's still fragile. So I thought I need to create something for traveling, because I love to wear my jewelry on vacation, but I just don't know how to transport it. And I guess so other people too. So I created a jewelry travel box, which should come maybe in the next 2 weeks, hopefully. So I started with the problem, and this is first of all my problem, which I want to solve. And I believe if I have this problem, so other people might have it too. So you have to be authentic, because
Yes.
I don't believe a vegan who wants to sell me meat is just wrong. So another mistake which I think that people can make is to sell something which they don't believe in. This is really important, because people see it, people can feel it.
Yes, yes. You find that when you're wearing your jewelry, are people stopping you because it's quite striking jewelry? It's because you're in some sense you're creating, you're leading the way in terms of a new fashion choice, and you're showing people how to wear it. Are people stopping you and asking you in the street, and are people recognizing you as well because of your presence on social media?
I love when, for example, I go to some stores, and people, the consultants, they look at my jewelry and they ask, "Where did you buy this?" And I say, "That's my brand." So I'm very happy that people who are actually in fashion business, they notice this. And when I go into elevators, someone very close, people do ask me in the airport when I wear my jewelry. They definitely ask where I bought it from. And I mean, people don't see me on the street. I'm not that famous, I think. But when I wear, for example, to a dentist, they sometimes say, "Oh, I've seen you on the internet. You're the girl who makes jewelry." And I'm always super, super happy about that, because
Yes. Yeah, you're doing something right. When people are stopping you and telling you, who know you, and they're seeing what you're offering, it's like that brand is beginning to stick in people's minds, and that association. Because I suppose you're not scared of presenting yourself up front on social media and using yourself as a medium to communicate your product.
Yeah, I actually I not always had that in the beginning. I wanted to have just the brand, but I realized people look at me first of all, because I have my personal account very active. I speak about my life. I speak about ups and downs, about everything, how business going. And I say about minuses and pluses, and I realized that people want to talk to me. So I thought, like, okay, that might be anyway difficult, because when bad things happen, when sometimes people talk to me personally, when they complain, they talk to me personally, it is harder, because you put all this through you. It is harder emotionally, psychologically, to attach yourself to the brand. But that's just the way I choose it. That's
Yes.
I think
Yes.
works for me.
Yes.
So yeah.
In what sense would you say it's harder to attach yourself to the brand emotionally and psychologically? Say more.
I think it's definitely hard, because, for example, you have haters, of course, and they try to hit you personally. They try to hurt you. So
Yeah.
when I get sometimes negative comments, or if there is a complaints, because of course business is not always bright. It has a lot of struggles, and when you hide yourself behind the screen as just a manager team or some CEO, you really put it through yourself. But when you represent yourself as Lisa, the founder of Lindeza,
Yes.
people say, "Hey, Lisa, there's this problem," or, "Lisa, I don't think you're doing a good job," or, people try to hurt you personally. And there was a moment when people tried to sue me, like ask me to go to court, and they tried to hurt me so much, because actually I was not responsible for some problems. So when the packages were stuck during pandemic at the border,
Yes.
out but people were putting so much hate on me. I received so many big messages, and I
Yeah.
was like crying a lot because I didn't have thick skin. Actually, I never had. I don't have thick skin for haters or
Mm,
some not constructive criticism. This is what I still cannot do. I cannot take it easy, but I definitely learn. It
yes.
definitely better, but the problem when you attach yourself to the brand, you take this so much more personally, so much more
Yes.
emotionally, and you
Yes.
think if there is something bad going in your brand, even when it's not dependent on you, you think you're a bad person.
Mm,
So
mm,
it's much harder. I had a lot of breakdowns, mental depressions. I don't know, so many different.
mm, Thanks so much for sharing. And I think people need to hear this because this is the reality of being an entrepreneur and putting your head above the parapet and leading the way in so many ways, because it's going to attract envy and jealousy, which I think converts to also into haters. And as a psychologist, I prefer to understand envy as an emotion, really, that's elicited when somebody before a person embodies their unmet potential. So
Yeah,
you're succeeding, and they see you succeeding, and rather than sort of take ownership for what they could do to succeed, it's like tall poppy syndrome, if you've heard of this before. So as a society, we like to take down the tallest poppies because
value.
yes, and so the more exposed you become, and it does come with the territory, doesn't it? You're going to attract haters,
That's for sure.
and people forget that we're just people at the end of the day, and it's easy to hate behind the screen anonymously and say a few bad things, but
Mm,
yeah.
actually, when I see messages that people send me, they sometimes, I don't know, out of nowhere, just they write so many different things. They try to hurt my jewelry, or sometimes they say, oh, you're just a one girl, I don't know, I know what kind of business you have, trying
Mm,
to
mm,
disvalue
mm.
me as a person, that I don't
Yes.
do things. So especially people from, sometimes even me being a foreigner, they try even take that and to put it into some bad light. And sometimes I think, oh, I'm getting stronger, but when you read like 30 negative comments, one comment will get you and will
Mm,
just
mm, mm,
destroy
mm.
your mood in some way.
Yeah, and it's there for everybody to see, and it's easy to feel exposed. And I suppose one thing I picked up on earlier is that you you do care very much about what people think about your product. You really want to get it right for people and
Yeah,
adapt to the market, and sort of meet their needs.
it's
And
like
so you have, say again.
it, it is like my baby. My business is my baby. I treat it
Yes, yes.
so much with love and care. And for
Mm,
example, I had a product. It was the knives with the crystal hand holders, handlers. I don't know how to call it in English, but people said it's the ugliest thing they've ever seen, and they hated so much these knives that it was so unpractical. But they didn't understand the concept I had, because people thought you have to chop vegetables for the soup with them, when
mm,
actually
mm,
it's
mm,
set,
mm,
cutlery set, which you put away on a special occasion, and it creates the mood. And I had to protect it. I was protecting. I tried to explain everyone what it's for, but actually my explanation only provoked people. They wanted me just to give up, to like to throw it away, or I don't know, to stop selling this thing. They really think like, hey, you're a
mm,
stupid young girl, you don't know how to do business. You're
mm,
wasting time. I mean, I had to really fight for it, and in the end, I think I never really gave up on this, because I understand some people are not my target audience.
mm,
They
mm, mm.
said some things, and I mean, also I don't understand my product is for everyone. I understand that it's very unique things. It cannot fit to every single person, because I chose a product like that. It's okay for me to go harder way to try to create a trend, because when you create something, when you introduce something new, you will always fight. I mean, nobody likes something new. They always have to have some time to adjust, to understand the concept.
I'm curious, with this particular holder that you trusted, that was going to serve some people, did it gain traction in the end, or is that still a work in progress?
It's sold out.
It's sold out. All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, somebody bought it. So, I mean, there were people who were interested. It's just it's hard sometimes to make people understand what it's for. You really
Yes.
have to show it with different sides, because you cannot just put the product on the website and say, okay, buy it. No, you have to show so many different sides, so many different ways. So because people don't understand what it's for, you have to show how you cut cheese, how you drink wine, maybe to even make a picture how you're making a party, and people are like, oh my God, this is the crystal knife. It's so cool. So you have to sell the idea of why they need it, because I mean, all my home, it's full of my crystal things. Like, it's all over here.
That's
I have it
Yeah.
every single room, crystal holders, candles, coasters, whatever it is. I love this because, and everybody who's coming to my home, they were like, oh, what is this? What is that? And I know that I can give it to other people too when they buy it, for sure. When they have guests, everybody will say, oh my God, I've never seen something like this. So I trust it so much. People judge me for protecting. They said that I have to just give up on this because I have to think that customer is right. I have to change something. But when you believe strongly in your product, it's hard. So you just try harder to promote it in the right ways people will understand. And this was, because I think one of the mistakes people make, they try to sell their product, and of course in the beginning nobody wants to buy anything, and they then can give up. But you have to go harder and understand what's the right way to promote it.
Who would you suggest to not to not step into the entrepreneurial journey, if anybody?
Well, you have to first describe what an entrepreneur is, because legally it's very easy to start a business. Anybody in the world can start a business, or you can pay money to somebody who would start the business for you. And technically, you'll be an entrepreneur. You will be a business owner. You will have your business. So anybody can do that.
Yes.
But for me, an entrepreneur is not about having just your business legally, not having the documents ready. It's about your mindset. It's about the drive. It's about the idea why you want to be an entrepreneur. It's not because you just want to call yourself an entrepreneur, you want to show off people. You have the idea that you want to present to the people. It's about that you have to be ready to be super competitive. It's about that you have to break all your limitations, all your ideas. You have to go over your limits to present what you think, what you have in your mind. So the entrepreneurship is the drive for me. It's the state of mind. It's just the motivation. And of course, you have to be ready to compete. So question, anybody can be a business owner legally, but in my mind, not everybody has the drive to be a successful entrepreneur, or to have the drive to keep up in the competition, because it's very hard business. Sometimes you will have people coming over taking money to have what you have. So you have to be super strong. You have to sacrifices. You have to understand that sometimes you have to prioritize it. And also, woman, as a girl, you have to also find a way to live, because for men it's easier because men have the goal to financially succeed in life, and women, they're supposed to be a good mother, a good wife, a good sister, daughter, all these things. So you have to you have to also, in this fight, you have to not lose yourself. So for me, it's difficult. That might be sometimes very competitive. Sometimes I can do that. working till the late nights. But of course, I don't want to be too much of this because I have my own life and have to find a balance, work-life balance. So I definitely don't suggest to people who think it is easy. It is easy to do a business. Who think who think first of all that there is a lot of money, because when there is a lot of money, there are a lot of expenses, a lot. So you see the money. The thing is, a good entrepreneur also, I reinvest anything. Anybody who want to have a successful business, they don't have right now. It's a very long-term job, and you reinvest. You always find new ideas. You always put your money into the new theories. So there is money. There's maybe the money will be later, but till that moment, you will face a lot of difficulties, personal, technical, and it's easy to give up. That's your motivation, and also you just have to be really strong to keep up with all this, because it tests you every day. It's never day. You open so many new sides of yourself.
There are so many it's such a rich response, and there's so many strands I hear to what you're saying. I mean, there are you need to be resilient, you need to be ambitious, you need to expect that there's going to be a lot of competition, and you need to be able to lean and to be able to tolerate that competition. And also, you make a very fine point about the challenges, the additional challenges of being a female entrepreneur, and the expectations that society place on females, and the competing roles that we're expected, well, females are expected to have, and also, I'm curious about age as well. As a young entrepreneur, I guess I know there are pros and cons, because I started out early as a young entrepreneur. The challenges are different now, but as a young entrepreneur, what would you say are the pros and the cons?
Oh, actually, I think the younger you start, the better. Because I started when I was 23, and I think that's already late, because I see a lot of younger people that I follow on social media. They're like 20 or 19, and they started as a hobby. And I see for me, they have an advantage because they are very creative. In general, I absolutely love the generation that is coming, that is younger than me. I look at them, I really adore them. I really think they're so great. They're so creative. I mean, if I have a daughter or a son, I would be so excited to be the young mother of this generation, of the other generations, because they're so much more creative. They're so open-minded. They're not afraid to make mistakes. They're not afraid to go online and just put on themselves some character, because I am trying to be creative, but still my childhood was very conservative. My parents were always like, you should not stand out of the crowd, you cannot color yourself, your hair pink, you should be, nobody would notice you, like in Soviet Union. So being brought up by parents like that, you have the mind and also you have the mind of a person who wants to be in the frame, to have this, not to go out of of your limits. You're limited. And in Russian schools, I definitely was different. I wanted to do so many creative things, but creativity was not welcome. It was not welcomed in any school that I was. You have to be in the system. You have to follow the program. You cannot step out of it. So I think right now, also in other schools, I see the children. They're so different, and I really adore that. I think that's the biggest advantage. The time changes, and time now lets you be who you want to be. There are no ideas people try to put on you who you should be. There is no life planned for you. Of course, not in all countries. If I'm talking about Europe, United States, that's where I've been. For the whole world. but I think that's great. And that's but the minus is, of course, your age, because you can make a lot of mistakes, I think that children are very sensitive, so
Mm,
it's
mm,
easier to hurt them, and the more people are open, the more they are somehow want to hurt everybody, because online it's easy to say things. So when you're not on social media, you kind of protect yourself from hate and things. And I just, for my children, for example, I'd be probably afraid that they might be hurt, they might go into depression, they see some autism. So that would be the minus. But in general, I think that it's great trend
yeah,
for
yeah,
young
yeah.
businesses and risk things.
I have so much respect for young entrepreneurs coming through, and especially using the social media to get their messages across. And it was the night before. I was just scrolling through. I spent quite a bit of time on TikTok, and I'm very interested in cryptocurrency. And a lot of the guys that have got these live streams, and they've got hundreds and thousands of people following them, and they're doing all these what's called technical analysis, studying the charts and relaying that in real time to teaching people how to trade. I'm absolutely blown away how they're able to interface between a video and teach and use all the technology that goes with it. And there's a lot of people of my generation that are still quite technophobic and don't embrace the opportunities that social media and technology offer us as entrepreneurs. And here are all these younger people leading the way. And I think they are the new leaders, the new mentors. And I think there's something we can all learn. And I think people, I mean, you speak such what I call truths. I mean, you certainly speak your truth, and it resonates with me, and it's inspiring to hear you talk and to see the impact you'll have on people of your generation. But I know people of all generations have something to learn from people like you, who are stepping truly into their entrepreneurship. And as you say, anyone can become an entrepreneur. So I distinguish between entrepreneurs with a capital E, and that's how I sort of understood your definition of entrepreneurship, and a small E, just somebody technically setting up a business.
That's great. Yes, that's good explanation.
Hey, Lisa, what would you say? Just before we wrap up? What would you say are the top 3 tips you've got for people, young and old or older, in being entrepreneurs?
Well, first would be a problem solver, because that's what the world will always need. Find a problem you want to solve with anything you want to create.
Yes,
that's
yes.
Number 1. Number 2 is be authentic. Be authentic. Try to present your values through a product. Just don't create just something. Create something that is the reflection of yourself, something that you strongly believe in, something that you are able to fight for, and you would stand all the negative hate comments, and that you just have to, you have to be strong to get to this product into another level. And the third would be find a work-life balance, so that it would be for a long-term survival, because that's something you really need. You need to sometimes relax and let yourself just have some fresh air, because otherwise you can come out very easily.
Yes, yes. Yeah, you mentioned that before, how it's so easy to fall into like depression and have experienced mental health distress. And because the pandemic has really tested many people on so many different levels in that respect. And so being vigilant and working towards striking that balance, that work-life balance. Yeah. How can people reach you? And I mean, maybe say a little bit more about yeah, where can people reach you, and how can they buy your products?
The easiest way is Instagram. That's my main channel where I'm online 24 hours. So Lindeza Jewelry, or my website lindeza.com, lindeza.shop. And these two ways is the best way. So
Okay.
just text me a direct message in Instagram
All
or my
right.
personal one.
Yeah. And your personal one is Lisa Vets, is that right?
Yeah, Elizabeth with double T.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned, so there are two websites. There's Lindeza Shop and...
No, that's the only one. Lindeza.com. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Brilliant. Yeah. It's been really nice talking to you. Thank you for coming on. It's been very exciting. I think we might have had some connection issues earlier on, but they seem to have resolved themselves now.
Yes.
Yes.
It was an honor for me to talk about it. I think it's really important, and
Yes.
sometimes people just have to be encouraged and listen to somebody who had this way, but you know, it's not always easy. So I'm really happy to share this information.
Thank you. And thank you for being, you know, sharing your vulnerability as well, and giving us such insight into the process. You know, it's easy to talk about what we do and how we do it, but, you know, behind the scenes, and it's not always easy. There are lots of challenges.
Right.
And it's very worthwhile. I think that's like a neat summary of your process. It's absolutely worthwhile. It's a journey that's intrinsically rewarding for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Okay. And so all that remains to be said from me is thank you everybody for watching and listening. And if you're interested in coming on one of my coaching programs, I'm going to put the details just at the bottom of the screen now. And I look forward to speaking to my next guest next week. And so tune in for that. And all the very best. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye.
Bye for now.